The rolling plains whispered with tension as dawn broke over Pryor Creek that fateful summer morning in 1861. What unfolded there would become one of the most remarkable yet overlooked chapters in the story of the American West. A day when the Crow Nation, known among themselves as the Absaroki, faced almost certain extinction. The seeds of this conflict had been planted a year earlier, far to the east in Dakota Territory. A grieving Sioux mother, her heart shattered by the loss of her warrior son to Crow defenders, walked through her village each evening. Leading her son's horse with his eagle-feathered war bonnet tied to the saddle horn, she wailed a challenge. "Is there a man among the mighty Dakotas who will take this horse and go fight the Absaroki?" For a year, her call went unanswered. Then Brave Wolf, a young man nursing a broken heart after his family rejected his chosen bride, decided to embrace a warrior's death rather than live with rejection. When next the mourning mother made her rounds, he stepped forward and took the reins of the warhorse. The crowd erupted, not just celebrating a brave man's decision, but witnessing the spark that would ignite an unprecedented military campaign. This would be no ordinary raid. The Sioux chiefs recognized the gravity of the moment and, with careful deliberation, spent a full year preparing. Messengers were dispatched to every band of the great Dakota Nation, as well as to their allies, the Cheyenne and Arapaho. By spring, thousands converged at the designated gathering place, the forks of Goose Creek, where Sheridan, Wyoming now stands. The encampment swelled to proportions never before seen on the plains. Camp criers exhausted multiple horses, simply announcing news throughout the massive gathering. Warriors painted their faces while wives sang songs of courage, and old men recounted tales of past glories. This was not merely a war party. It was a migration force, intent on seizing Crow lands and eliminating their longtime rivals once and for all. But as the Council of War Chiefs gathered, Night Horse, an Arapaho leader of mixed Crow heritage, rose to speak. "This is not Indian war you are planning," he declared in a voice that commanded respect. "To destroy another tribe is wrong. I will not fight my own relatives." With those words, Night Horse broke camp and departed. More significantly, he dispatched his 2 half-Crow sons to warn their mother's people of the approaching danger. Meanwhile, the Crow people had camped at Pass Creek, unaware of the gathering storm. When Night Horse's sons arrived at their evening camp at Rotten Grass Creek, they delivered their father's urgent warning: flee immediately and seek the strength of other Crow bands. The small camp of 400 lodges, perhaps 1,200 warriors against an enemy force over 8 times their size, quickly packed their belongings and began a desperate flight deeper into Crow territory. As the Crow fled westward, the massive Sioux war party followed their trail, finding only smoldering campfires at the Bighorn River. The Dakota commander assessed the abandoned campsite and announced with chilling confidence, "Today when the sun sets, there will be no more Absaroki left." His warriors responded with thunderous war cries that shook the nearby mountains. By the following dawn, the Crow had reached Pryor Creek, about 50 miles west of the Bighorn. As the first light touched the eastern hills, a Crow man named Hits Himself Over the Head was searching for horses when he crested a rise and froze in horror. Below him spread a sea of enemy warriors preparing for battle, thousands of painted faces, war bonnets, and prancing horses ready to charge. Racing back to camp, Hits Himself Over the Head raised the alarm. The Crow chiefs immediately dispatched 10 of their bravest warriors to meet the initial charge, buying precious time for the rest to create defensive positions from teepee poles and covers. These 10 rode directly into the enemy's front ranks, fired their weapons, and wheeled away with thousands of Dakota warriors thundering in pursuit. The valley erupted with war cries and gunfire as the massive attack force descended upon the small Crow camp. From nearby hills, the non-combatants who had followed the Sioux expedition watched in anticipation of an easy victory, smoking pipes and singing encouragement. But the Crow were prepared. Their finest marksmen took strategic positions, and when the Dakota forces crossed the creek and charged, a veteran chief gave the command to fire. The coordinated volley cut through the attackers with devastating precision. The Sioux regrouped and charged again, only to meet another deadly barrage. When the repeated charges suddenly ceased, a clever Crow warrior seized the moment. Riding toward the enemy, he signaled his desire to speak. Using the intertribal sign language, he delivered a brilliant bluff. You have come prepared to wage serious battle against the Absaroki. Right now, our two other bands are on their way to help us. They will arrive soon, and then you will have a real fight." No help was actually coming, but at that very moment, something extraordinary happened. A herd of elk, startled by the sounds of battle, began milling about nervously in the distance. Their sharp hooves kicked up dust clouds, and their white rumps resembled war bonnets from afar. The Sioux observers on the hillside pointed and shouted warnings of approaching reinforcements. Then, from the west, another dust cloud appeared, this one caused by a stampeding buffalo herd also disturbed by the fighting. The Sioux commanders, believing they were about to be trapped between multiple Crow forces, ordered one final desperate charge before the supposed reinforcements could arrive. As this charge faltered against the determined Crow defense, a strange warrior suddenly appeared among the Absaroki. Armed with a two-pronged spear made from elk antler, he charged forward shouting, "Koko High! Koko High!" and began striking down Dakota warriors with supernatural efficiency. The Sioux fired countless shots at this lone figure, but he seemed impervious to their weapons. Inspired by this mysterious champion, the Crow warriors broke from their defensive positions and launched a full counterattack. The massive Sioux and Cheyenne force, which had come expecting a simple slaughter, now broke into a chaotic retreat, with the mysterious warrior pursuing them, his cry of "Koko High!" striking terror in their hearts. One Sioux warrior later recounted his narrow escape, telling how even after they had fled for miles, the haunting cry of "Koko High!" seemed to follow them through the darkness, as if their pursuer rode through the sky itself. When the survivors finally staggered back to the massive encampment at Goose Creek, wailing spread throughout as the magnitude of their defeat became clear. Within 2 days, as no more warriors returned, the great gathering dispersed, their unprecedented plan to seize Crow lands abandoned. Years later, when peace finally came to the plains, visiting Sioux asked the Crow to identify the fearsome warrior who had turned the tide at Pryor Creek. The Crow historians were puzzled. They knew of no such champion. Finally, an elder remembered that during the height of the battle, an old woman had stepped outside their fortification and prayed to Old Man Coyote, the spiritual benefactor of the Absaroki. "You promised that if we were ever in great danger, you would return to help us," she had pleaded. "I pray for you to come and help us survive this very day." The Crow believed that Old Man Coyote answered her prayer, appearing as the mysterious warrior when his people faced their darkest hour. He had not only fought with supernatural power, but had orchestrated the timely appearance of the elk and buffalo herds that the Sioux mistook for reinforcements. The Battle of Pryor Creek stands as a remarkable moment when a nation on the brink of annihilation was saved, not just by the courage of its warriors, but by the mysterious workings of powers beyond the visible world. Perhaps Nighthorse had been right when he told the War Council that the plan to exterminate another tribe was fundamentally wrong. The land itself, and the spirits who watched over it, had intervened to preserve the Absaroki when all odds stood against them.